Hey everyone, this is Alec from Reddit's Hex Encounter community. Thanks for joining me tonight as I do my unboxing of Liberty or Death, the the American Insurrection, published by GMT Games, designed by Harold Buchanan. This is, of course, the fifth volume in the Coin series, a tremendously successful series of games pioneered by the eminent Volker Runke. So let's go ahead and get this guy open. Still actually in the cellophane, so it's a true unboxing. I'll get that open there. Get this going. If any of you, by the way, ever have a chance to meet Volko, he's just a tremendous guy to get down and talk to and pick his brain and talk about modeling. I had the good fortune to meet him when I was in Virginia at one point and share a beer and talk about coin and talk about modeling. It was just a wonderful conversation. So if you ever do get a chance to meet him, buy the man a beer and talk about modeling. He's a great guy. Okay, so let's get into this game. Harold Buchanan's Liberty or Death. So 3-inch standard game box here. Playbook, first thing on top here at 52 pages on this index. So a 52-page playbook, quite large, and we'll note quite brilliantly that page 2 of the playbook is a multiplayer tutorial. Big red letters, first-time players, start here. It's an on-ramp. It's talking about setting up the scenario. It's talking about what's happening on turn 1 and turn 2 and who's doing what and why they care to do that. The British now choose between this and this, and it walks you and talks you through the game systems in full color with graphic detail. This is great. This is helps people get into the game by seeing it. This is essentially a printed version of a how it's played video, right? But done by the designers. So just a great thing here to learn by seeing how it's done as opposed to going through an almanac of rules. So that actually persists for quite a while. Nothing happens here until 14. So a big section of the start of the playbook here as an on-ramp for first-time players. And of course, a lot of people are coming having played a coin game or two under their belt. So a page of information here on what is different on this coin title, how this system has been adapted. Then some player notes, some strategy, and some thoughts to help people think of optimal play on various factions from a historical standpoint. Non-player examples of play. This is probably on working through bots or working, solitaire play, or how to control a procedurally controlled player if one faction is sitting out. And so again, a very long, thorough example of play there. And then a history section, essentially, going through the event text on the cards. This coin games are card-driven, and giving you a little bit about the people and the events and the historical setting and how the cards worked. And so a lot of info there, almost an almanac. And then, of course, designer notes. So just a lot of good on-decking, on-road, on-ramp, supplemental material. The series designer notes on these games, and just brilliant stuff. And then the designer notes for the bots. Excellent. Oh, and a very interesting bit here, sources. And so this is something that is fun to do with a great game that gets you into a new topic. As sometimes it's just nice to sit down and read what research went into doing these, building these games. And so there are some of the sources. And if you ever want to see your name here in the playtest credits, reach out to these designers and developers on Twitter or on Board Game Geek. Reach out to GMT. A lot of these places are always looking for a good cadre of playtesters that are willing to provide feedback. So anyway, okay, so playbook, a lot of good info there. Excellent. Next is a rule book weighing in at 40 pages. It appears by looking at the table of contents that the meat of them goes through about 20 pages through victory. And so core rules there, and then we get into the bots, the non-player factions, then indexes and setup and scenarios. So we'll just kind of flip through here and, you know, kind of, if you've seen a coin title, this is all things that you will expect to see. Support, opposition, markers, leaders, control, leader capabilities. And so that is something that is a bit different perhaps with this coin title than others. Sequence of play, etc. One thing I will say on getting into the coin series, if you're coming at it new or if you're considering this being your first new game, one thing that the series designer and the game designers here all strongly suggest is that there's a lot of nuance and complexity and events rolled into all of these, and it can kind of be overwhelming if you take it all in on the outset. So the way that they suggest doing it is playing a turn or two, not doing events, not doing special actions, but everyone just doing actions. Play through a couple turns of just choosing to do actions. After everyone's done that a little bit, do a couple turns layering in actions with special actions. And that's all you're going to let each other do. And then once everyone's comfortable with that, then layer in events. And that essentially gives you digestible pieces of information and learning the systems incrementally, one level at a time without having to, you know, swallow the elephant whole. Okay, let's see here. We got some player aids, random spaces here. There's usually a random space chart or a series of play aids that help control non-players and how they choose to do things. So this is the non-player played, what they do for certain events, where they go when they move. So we've got those play aids. Sequence of play for the players. Again, as a coin title, it supports up to 4 players. And this is what I was talking about here, where you have commands, which are the actions. You have command and special actions. You've got events. So if you're trying to get into the game, start by only letting yourself do commands, the basic commands. And if you flip over, at some point there should be a summary of what the commands are. But after you've done that and got comfortable with that, let folks come in and do special activities, and then eventually let yourself do the events. So some play aids here, double-sided, to include some mnemonics on the units and the markers and how combat's resolved and lost levels, removal priorities. Okay, so and one for each player there. Then we get into the bots. So these are 4 of 5. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Only 2 bots. I'll put those back. Those are play aids. Okay. So the bots here cover non-player British and their decision tree, non-player Patriot, non-player French, non-player Indian, and all their decision trees. For those of you that have not really familiar with logic diagrams, any diamond is a decision point. You read this, evaluate it, and if no, go that way. If yes, go that way. And then you just kind of follow through and do what it tells you to do. And as always, when in doubt, try and do something that either A, makes sense, or is B, most advantageous to the side you're trying to play. Okay, so those are the play aids for the bots. And now we should have a series here, one for each player, of the standard play aids. And so what you're going to have is each side, the commands available to them, the special activities, and then a victory check. And then Patriots, again, commands available to them, special activities, commands available to them, special activities. You notice that these are all subtly different. They're all generally going to be doing the same thing. But for instance, the French have 5 primary actions that they can do, whereas the Patriots only have 4. So it is not, symmetric at all. In addition with these special activities, so start by getting comfortable with these for your faction when you're playing. Then layer in the special activities, and then actually start executing events. So there's one of these for each faction. Okay, as one might expect, very low counter density. That's a brilliant thing about the coin system. We have the leaders here and some blockade markers for the various factions. We have some mnemonic markers largely. some various characters, locations of overflow boxes, support or opposition representing what the populace is doing, who controls an area, and then some status markers. So pretty standard fare there. And now we've got the map. So let me consolidate here ever so slightly, and we'll get a chance to get the map out. So, as one would expect for a coin title, this is a mounted map. I'll go ahead and just remove the bag from the map. Okay. And we'll open this up. I'm probably going to run off of the table in this way. Interesting. So this is a tall map, not a wide map. It's the same dimensions as any other GMT game, but this is in this is in portrait, not landscape. Sequence of play, moving around who's got what. Available forces for the Patriots down on this bottom left corner. French naval intervention, map legend, French forces. If I do a partial unfold here, we'll see some information on the West Indies, casualties, overflow boxes. We see the beginnings on this bottom portion of some status tracks. And then all of the coin games are all area movement type games. So you have the various areas, the colonies, and then some status for who controls them and who they support. In addition, you have the major cities, which are population centers, which further give population control and can be supported or not. And we'll just, this top part of it, we'll see we have some of those more tracks in the northern colonies, and I'll finally open all the way up. So this is the map for Liberty or Death, and it's a very tall map. So, okay, what else is in the box? A confetti of colored bits here, which represent the Native Americans, the French, the Redcoats, and the Colonials, or rather, I guess I should say, the Patriots. So there's a lot of bits there. Well, we have some stands for those leaders, as we had mentioned having earlier. Baggy. Interestingly, I actually haven't seen any of these printed this way. We have a D6 here in black, going to 6. And we have red and blue D3s. Okay, this is a D3. Each opposing side is printed with the same number, 2, 2, 1, 2, or 3. So they went ahead and actually printed D3s. That's pretty cool. Not seen that before. Zip that up. Okay, and of course, card-driven game with events. So there's the back of the event decks. It's actually pretty nice art there on the back. I like that. And then the events. For those of you new to the coin system, aside from an art, you'll see an activation order here. And then generally some information on what turn the event either comes into play or leaves play. And I'm not having read the rules, I'm not quite sure how it's applied in this game. You'll also see the name of the events. So, but across here is the turn priority order. Not all factions, and there are four factions. Not all factions will have the act in the same order every turn. So when the card comes up, the French get dibs if they're available. And they can act. If they do act, they will be unavailable to act next turn. If they choose to pass or are unable, the Patriots, and so on. And when they go, they can often just take their turn to do their actions, which, as I was previously mentioning, is the recommendation for people new to the game or new to the system, or they can choose to do the text of the event. So, for instance, if one is in one of the two factions that are acting against the Patriots, they can choose to oppose support for the Patriots and lose resources for Turgot's economic liberalism, or they can believe in the virtue of the American cause and support them. So generally some balance in these events. So, all right. And then I guess the last thing left in the box is the insert, which in a coin game probably actually stays in the box. there are few enough counters where they will live in the baggies and not necessarily need to go into a counter tray. So the insert does serve a purpose. Yeah, so okay, so let's go over it again. I'll fold up the map so that we can try and get all the bits in one camera angle here as I lose the bags. All right, so we have one very nice quality mounted map for Liberty or Death. We've got the 2 units there of cards. We've got the baggies. We've got the confetti of wooden bits. We've got the D3s and the D6, the little stands. We've got a sheet and a half of markers here, nothing to get terribly excited about. And then a lot of play aids and roles. So let's see, player aids for the actual players, bots, sequence of play, and battle procedure. Some random space and other bot information on operating the bots. A voluminous set of rules, but again, core system is the same for those of you who've done it, and what appears to be a very well put together, useful playbook. So this is what you get if you end up picking up Liberty or Death, the American Revolution, a coin title by Harold Buchanan, and the coin system by GMT Games. Thank you all for joining me, and please do like the video and share it. You can find me on Twitter at @AlecMG. You can also find me on Twitch and catch the stream live at twitch.tv/AlecMG. And please come by Reddit and join the conversation at reddit.com/r/hexencounter. Thank you all, and have a good day.